So great,
Okay,
Monica. Thank
yes.
you so much for being here.
Thank
This
you
is
for
amazing.
having me.
This is
Thank
amazing.
you.
How
I love
long
your
have you-
voice.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I don't know if I ever got that, but I'll
I
take
do.
it.
I'm
I'll
a
take it.
voice. I recognize voices.
Are
You have a really
you?
good voice. Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Voices.
Not about my.
Tell me all about my voice. Come on.
Tell me more about what that means. You recognize voices.
Instead of faces, it's more of a voice thing for me.
Yeah.
Like my dad has a super prominent voice.
Okay.
His friends have prominent voices. So I've always grown up with like these strong voices around me.
Yeah.
And then my ex-husband, he sounds like George Clooney.
Got it.
You know, I dated a French man for a while. That's a great voice. So I don't know.
been
The
around a lot of
voices are
voices.
a thing for me. Like they mean a lot.
Yeah.
And voice is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's so powerful
Yeah.
to yourself, to others. I think it's really important.
I was just reading. Have you ever heard of? I'm going to probably mispronounce it, but Jacques Luceren. Does that name sound familiar at all?
An author?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
He's an author, but he wrote this book. He was blind.
Okay.
He was part of the French resistance during World War II.
Wow.
I just finished this book. It's called There Will Be Light, or Let There Be. Unbelievable story.
Wow.
So much of it is about him using his other senses
Right.
besides sight.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things he talks about is he was in charge of recruiting for this underground movement because he could hear people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not just
It
the
was heightened.
words, but he could hear, which I love. And I totally believe it. I'm sure you experienced that as well.
100%.
Yeah. So the voice carries a lot.
Yeah, and it's really
Voice carries
interesting
a lot.
when one sense is not so strong, the other ones will level up.
Yeah.
Right? That's incredible. I should read that.
It
Incredible.
is
Okay.
one of my favorite books. It was a book where I was upset it was over because you just sort of want to still be in it. It's unbelievable. So if
Yeah.
you're looking
We
for
should
a
put a
read,
copy here.
I should. I'm trying to figure out more books to put here.
Yeah, that might
maybe
be the
that's what we do,
one.
Like, book
Like
of
your
the month.
favorite.
Yeah, of that time. That's a good point.
Yeah, because
like that.
coffee and books go together, right?
Together,
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so much I want to dive into
Yes,
this. There's so
yes.
many interesting things, but let's gotta start with the origin.
Okay.
A little bit of what made you you, right?
Sure,
So we're
sure.
in Michigan. We're on a large farm, although
Yes.
nobody's a farmer,
Yes.
but you're on a farm. So tell me a little bit about growing up there.
We always do this, Michiganders with the hand.
Okay.
It's like the mitten state.
Okay.
So I'm from here.
Got it.
I have a hair shed like here.
Okay.
Southwest Michigan. We didn't have a stoplight until after I was born. It was
Really?
that small of a town. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I grew up collecting chicken eggs, weeding the garden. Like I was saying, the garden was so big. My dad had to rototill it with a huge Ford tractor. Like it was
wow.
ginormous.
Okay.
So we really ate off the land.
Yeah.
And so
How big
from
was
a
your
very
school, for example? Just like,
oh God.
and you went to high school and college there, or?
So we moved
Oh,
when I
okay.
was in third grade.
Got it, okay.
It was like a neighboring town. So
Yeah.
still country, but we didn't really have the farm.
Right.
We still
Okay.
had a little garden, but then we got an underground pool instead of the
Right.
full garden.
Moving on up with the pool.
Yes.
Okay, but up to that point, eating off the land, connected to the farm. You clearly have that
Yes.
connection to it.
Yes.
Which obviously leads into some of the stuff you're doing, but
Yes. Yeah. I mean, from a really young age, like I would hear my parents try to figure out how not to use pesticides on the trees and kind of like soil health and what to do with the animals. And, like I was in charge of when the baby turkeys would come, they would get their heads wrapped around the
really?
lights,
Yeah.
like the lights to keep them warm, and they could die.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you'd have to like watch them. So they wouldn't. So I was on like all these animal watches
Nice.
and I had my own little flower garden. And
love it.
yeah, you just learn how extraordinary Mother Earth is
Yeah.
and that she really is everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, she has to do with every single thing, like everything you're wearing, everything you're sitting, everything you're breathing, tasting the coffee. It's all
from her.
earth.
Yeah, yeah.
Without earth, we have nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what did your parents do?
They had a commercial foam insulation and roof company.
Okay.
Mhm.
They
So
both
my
worked
mom-
together in that.
They
Oh,
did.
nice.
Yeah. They
And
built
they got
it
along
together.
with that, and they
Can
enjoyed
they're
it,
still
and-
married.
That's
Can you
amazing.
believe it?
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And so at 3, then you moved, and you had a sister as
I
well,
have an older sister,
Oldest-
younger brother.
and younger brother. They were into the farm as well.
Yes, and my brother actually is he's pretty renowned in Michigan. He's a fly fishing guide.
Oh, really?
So he really, like the earth had
That's
a lot to do
amazing.
with what he does now as well.
I've always wanted
Yeah.
to try fly fishing.
You should.
love
He's
it.
I've done it with him.
Yeah.
He's an incredible teacher.
Really?
Incredible. Yes. If you ever want to, I'll give you
Yeah,
his number.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds so horrible to say, but you see a river runs through, and you're like, I gotta go fly.
I've got to go
fishing.
fly fishing. Yeah,
It's
that's
horrible.
it. Yeah.
It's funny on the chicken thing, and this is such a city slicker thing to say. You're gonna laugh,
I
but
love it.
when I moved out of the city, so we have a little property, not a lot, but I rented chickens for the summer. You could rent a chicken coop.
What do you mean rent?
You could rent a chicken coop, and
They drop it off?
This is embarrassing to say, but we had a great time.
This is awesome.
They drop off chickens. They drop off the coop.
Okay.
And for a whole summer, you move it around each day, and you let them out, and they graze. And
Yeah.
you get the eggs, and a kid, for the summer, my kids took care of these chickens, and we had fresh eggs, and
Awesome.
I loved it.
Did you give them your food scraps?
Yeah, we were.
Yes.
Yeah, just from the table and stuff
Yes.
like that. Exactly. Yeah.
So then it's like a
Yep.
full circle moment. You're
Yes.
making new food, the eggs
and
with
then
your
we got
old
into
food.
composting, but
Mhm.
composting is more difficult than I thought. Like you really
a
got
bit
to
of a-
turn, and it takes time. So I don't know if we did that well, but we definitely
I
gave
can
them
help
scraps.
you with that.
Please.
Yes.
So that was my
It's
chicken experience,
amazing.
yeah. But I would love. I like farm life.
Yeah.
I think I do. I mean, it's all theory,
Yeah.
I like the romance of it. But
Yes.
anyway,
But you should always romance your life.
romance, right?
So I get it.
Yeah. Okay, so then at 3, you moved to a new place, but within Michigan.
Third grade.
Third grade.
Yeah. So
Oh,
it was
okay.
like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Great. A new place,
Mhm.
and so fast forward a little bit. You stay in town for college.
No, I went to University of Michigan.
Okay.
And I was like smarter than I look.
Yeah.
My sister went there also. And so my second year at U of M, I was taking biological anthropology.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was be the next Jane Goodall.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
then also architecture. My dad is also, and my both grandpas are general contractors.
nice.
So I was also brought up with a very like constructive, creative, the built environment
Yeah,
sort of
great.
ecosystem,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I started taking architecture classes and I'm like, man, I just like, I love both of them. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I asked this teacher of mine, he's written books
Yeah.
on biological anthropology. I studied the great apes,
Okay.
basically. And he was like, do you want to make money? And I said, well, hopefully. And he's like, then go
So this is
to,
good.
yeah. So I graduated in interior design.
Oh, got it.
I switched
That's
schools.
great.
I transferred to Western Michigan
Okay.
University.
And actually
then
studied interior design.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 6-year program altogether.
Got
My
it.
parents were thrilled with that. And then I went to London,
Okay.
England. I did an internship there. And then from there, I moved to LA with an
Got it.
interior design job for an eco-friendly boutique firm.
And is that, I'm maybe skipping, but is that when also you got into TV hosting and a lot of that, or that came
Yes.
later? Okay.
No, that exactly.
Exact
So
time, okay.
as one does in Hollywood, I started
right.
pitching this show. It was like it was a cool nursery show. It was an eco-friendly nursery design. And every time
Your
I was
concept.
yes,
Yeah,
my concept.
yeah.
Yeah, it didn't go.
Okay.
It was well before its time, I
Right.
think, especially in sustainability.
Yeah, yeah.
But so every time I was in the room, they would be like, well, who do you envision hosting the show? And I would say me. And they're like, you have zero
Yeah,
credentials.
experience,
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you're right. So I started taking hosting classes, which are much like
Oh,
acting
really?
classes.
Okay.
Yeah. 5 years. And then I landed a beauty and fashion news show
Wow.
all online. It went really well. It's for AOL when AOL
That's
was a
great.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And from there, then I developed EcoBabe because I felt like with fashion and beauty, it's so fun. Like I was reporting on Kim Kardashian, Kate Middleton every
Right,
day.
right.
But then after about 3 years, and I wrote, produced, and hosted that show.
And that was online on AOL. Okay.
Yeah.
But you were
did
on
really
red
well.
carpets and stuff. You were at events and things.
Yes,
It
and
was
that was
just
all
streaming.
freelancing.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, yes. I just felt like I wasn't doing something that gave me enough purpose.
Yeah.
Especially because it really wasn't about sustainability or earth or anything. It's like kind of the opposite.
Right.
So I developed EcoBabe.
Got it.
And from there, didn't look back.
Also, I want to get into that. I want to take one step back.
Yeah.
Jane Goodall, what
Yes.
inspired you about that?
She's literally my hero.
Yeah.
I've come so close to meeting her so many
Oh,
times,
really?
and it's always been like 2 ships passing. Like I will one day.
Right.
I
That's the
just
person you'd like to meet.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
that would be like my
Yeah.
just my icon. She started off as someone who wasn't in that field,
Mm-hmm.
and then when she started, then she went back to school to get the degree, and she took something that didn't exist. And she dove in and did it to the point where now look at it.
Yeah,
She has a
yeah, I
huge
agree, I
foundation.
agree.
It's global. She's done so much good and impact. She has Roots for Shoots, which is like a children's
Yeah.
program. I mean, it's massive, and she does so much conservation. She's part of the Endangered Species Act. Like it's incredible.
It really
right?
is. I agree.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I love the I may get it wrong, but the story I heard about how she got started with
Yeah.
this professor, because you're right, she had no background. I think she was his secretary actually, and from what I understood, he brought her along because he didn't want anybody with an opinion or an agenda, and so whatever sort of documentaries and stuff, just her ability to observe,
Yes.
but cleanly with no point behind it, just to observe. First of all, I think it's an amazing lesson.
To observe.
Just to like observe, like no agenda.
Correct.
I'm not trying to force it any way. I'm just really taking it in and learning from what's happening. And like you said, building from that, it's so inspiring. I love her story.
She created something that's completely magic out
Yeah.
of something that didn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think she just liked animals. I think that's what it was.
Well, I think she liked him, and I guess she also fell in love with him also
Yeah.
just by sitting there.
Yes.
And just, it took her, I don't know,
Yes.
long, but a while just to sit there and not interact, just to
Right.
feel like part of the scenery, right?
Also, did you know that chimps and so human and chimp DNA, it's 98.4% the
Right.
exact same.
Right.
If that
It's
isn't
so- I
mind
know.
blowing, I don't know what is.
I know.
Yeah, so they're just fascinating.
Absolutely. So, okay, then you go from and then so you start Eco Babe,
Yes.
but what's your main thing right now? The fashion design, the interior design?
No, I still do Eco Babe. Yeah,
You
so I
okay,
freelance a
got it.
lot.
Okay.
I just spoke at South by Southwest.
Right.
So I do a lot of like brand partnerships. I teach workshops on sustainable living and
Okay.
composting to groups and communities and
Okay.
companies
Yeah.
globally. And yeah, I'm pitching a show right now about green jobs.
Okay.
So
Tell me
it's,
about that.
It's so good.
Okay, tell me.
Okay. Okay. Remember
Yeah.
Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe?
Yes.
It's that meets the green job industry. Same format, everything. It just all has to do with the green job industry.
So what's an example of a green job?
Well, in New York, there's urban farming.
Okay. On rooftops,
Brooklyn
things
Grange,
like that?
yeah,
Yes,
is one of
yes.
the largest in the nation.
Okay.
So that would be an awesome green job to go do for the day.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
Yeah.
I like it.
And
That's a
there's,
great idea.
there's so many amazing ones globally. Like, have you heard of Akashinga?
No.
I may name my firstborn child
That's a
Akashinga because of
great
how much I'm
word.
obsessed with them.
What does
Okay.
it mean?
So it's a group of rangers, all female, and the
Okay.
females come from diverse backgrounds where they've struggled with, for instance, like spousal abuse or being a single mom, things like that. So they've come together. They're vegan. They've learned how to become rangers, and they have conserved acres and acres and acres of the national forest with elephants and animals. Yeah, so they've rhinos. They've conserved.
So
They keep them safe.
they protect rhinos
From poaching.
From poaching.
Mm-hmm.
Over and what area again?
It's I think it's Rwanda,
Wow. Okay.
or is it Zimbabwe? I think it's Rwanda. We can look.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on safari? You ever done that?
I have.
Okay.
I went to Namibia.
Oh,
Have
really?
you?
No, I'd love to. It's
Oh
like
my
bucket list.
gosh! Namibia is the most beautiful country I've ever
Really?
seen in my life. Yes, it's gorgeous. There's so many different topographies.
Yeah.
You go from like ocean to like safari, like that dusty dirt with all the beautiful colors to
Yeah.
jungle. It's amazing. I've never seen
That's
anything like it.
incredible.
You have to go in like June, July, so it's kind of baby season.
Okay.
And then it's also watering season where the animals are going to look for water, so they're out and about more. So you'll see
So you
more
get more of them.
animals.
Is
Yeah.
your interest and passion? I mean, it's obviously all of nature. I guess you have a special affinity towards animals.
Yeah.
Is that what you'd say? Like your connection is, or I guess let me step back. When you think about the earth,
Yeah.
right? Because one of the questions I have is, there's very few people who would I think disagree with let's take care of things, right?
100%. Yeah.
And so one of the questions I have when I was thinking about, your biography and all the work you do, the different kind of conversations you must have to inspire people to take care of things, right?
Mhm.
You can go super scientific, you can go super militant, you could go, we have 30 years until we get to,
Mhm.
what's your take on that? How do you approach that in your, in your brand,
You really have to meet others where they are. So I'm from the Midwest.
Yeah.
A lot of restaurants and such in the Midwest still use plastic straws, styrofoam, plastic bags. You have to meet people where they are.
Right.
And the last thing you want to make someone do is contract away from the discussion. So when we come from it, and a lot of that is science, unfortunately,
Yeah.
when we come from that place of like breeding fear, anxiety, guilt, you're not doing enough, the world's gonna,
Yeah.
all of these shameful, guilty, scary, the diction that we use,
Yeah.
that automatically makes someone contract, right? Like, oh, I don't want to.
That's what I find as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you contract, what do? You freeze.
Defensive and
You don't want to do
exactly.
it. You contract away from it. And that could leave a bad taste in someone's mouth
Yeah.
for forever.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
So you really want to come at it from a place of positivity, of light, and meeting people where they are on that journey. You can also find connection points too. So, like for you, I would say, like, you love dogs, you know, like dogs are a part of nature.
Right.
You know, I would go kind of, or like, what about your coffee? You know, like, is that,
Yeah.
I would start there because
Is it
that's a huge
organic,
part of
sustainable, fair
sustainability,
trade? Yeah.
ethical, for exactly.
Absolutely, yeah. Which
So-
ours is, by the way, just so you know.
I saw that. That's why I said that. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Fair trade is huge for coffee.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, it's funny. There's, it's done well. I think all these programs have, like, there's fair trade, there's organic, there's UTZ certified, rainforest certified,
Butterfly.
bird friendly, all of that. And I think they all have their usefulness. They're never complete solutions, but I think altogether they certainly move the needle on it.
Of course.
Yeah.
And those have to be celebrated, right? That's the
Yeah.
other part of sustainability that I think is really missing is, and it's a part of meeting companies and people where they are.
Yeah.
We should be celebrating. I've come into many big corporations who are afraid to talk about their sustainable initiatives
Right.
just in case they aren't perfect enough and they're not doing enough. So
Yeah.
they don't talk about it at all.
Well, because I think people give them a hard time if
yes,
they're not
it's like a
perfect, right?
cancel culture.
Yeah, it was just tough. It freezes you know. I say this all the time. You know, we could definitely be more. We could recycle, but if we're doing fair trade, but we're not doing that, you hit us on that.
Yes.
If we're doing that, but not doing,
but not exactly.
you know,
it's like
and
never
there's
good enough.
business requirements stuff, but you have to keep doing the best you can. Obviously, yeah. So the panel on South by Southwest, what was that on?
Recycling.
Okay.
You just mentioned recycling.
Yeah.
So we had a panel on, again, hope and light and optimism.
Right.
So we had 3 experts, one from the lab from Google X, which is
Okay.
like Google's innovative
Yeah,
lab,
yeah.
like their moonshot factory
Right.
lab. And we had one panelist who's an expert in recycling, works for the largest, I'd say like the leader in its industry for recycling machinery
Yeah.
globally. And we had one, I love him so much. His name is Serge from Wild Coast.
Okay.
So Wild Coast is an organization out west that's conserved, I think it's like 138 million acres of coastal wetlands and oceans. And so he's like a cowboy. So it was fun. It was, you know,
Yeah.
very professional, very like activated. And we talked about the solutions that no one really knows about, but you should know about because it's exciting. It's from the front lines. I mean,
Right.
these crusaders are, in my opinion, like modern day heroes.
Were
and
you
they're working
moderating
on
it?
I did.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
were moderating.
moderated
Got
it.
it.
Yeah,
Got it.
yes.
What?
yes.
So just on that, what is some of a frontline thing that's happening that I wouldn't know about?
So Google
Yeah.
has figured out how to, or I should say X, the Moonshot Factory,
right.
part of Google. They figured out how to take a plastic polymer. So you take like a plastic bottle, right? Instead of recycling it as is, which then it lessens the usability of the plastic. Like it degrades through recycling systems,
Okay.
right? So eventually it's going to have to be trashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
X has figured out how to take that plastic bottle and melt it back to its original virgin form. So in that case, you're making new materials out of this basically recycled plastic,
yeah.
but it still has the integrity of virgin plastic without extracting anything from the earth.
Interesting.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's called chemical recycling.
Chemical. I was going to say, and I guess that would lead into the circular economy
Yes.
aspect. Yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Yeah,
great.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
We're doing a little bit. We're trying to experiment with drying our coffee grinds and reusing
Yes.
them. So we have some programs through the
Amazing.
foundation coming up with that, which is great.
Yeah. Thank you for
I think, yeah. I mean, I think it's a big. It's funny on the circular economy.
Mm-hmm.
The idea makes so much sense. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it hasn't taken off more, hasn't become more mainstream. I think there's a lot of upcycling going on. People do that, but really sort of breaking things down again and then reusing them. I'm not sure if it's just sort of the players involved and why it hasn't really taken off. But
I think when it comes to big corporations and government, it takes a really long time to get anything done, which is why companies like yours and individuals like us are so important if we take action, it is much faster than the big corps and government. So I think that's part of it. And also, I think it's just easy to stay where you are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right? Even though sometimes circularity can save you money.
To me, the promise of it is huge. I mean, I think there's a big upside to it to get it going. Like you said, just the comfort of being where you are. But what I'm encouraged by, I think there's obviously a whole new generation of entrepreneurs who, in their DNA, to get Coke or whatever to go back is you're moving the Titanic, right? So, there's so many things, and it's not something they don't want to, but there's so many factors to move that ship. And I think even all those companies are doing much better than they used to because the consumer's driving that, they're demanding it.
Absolutely.
But you're certainly getting entrepreneurs now who that's in their DNA. That's the way they're thinking from the beginning. How will it be part of the supply chain? How will it be more, what are the other bottom line things besides just the profit? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's really cool where we're going. It's actually very optimistic, and even though it feels like a lot of time it's pretty dark, but
do you interact with government at all? Do you get involved in sort of, I guess not lobbying, but do you get involved in places where you can affect policy and things like that?
I really want to. Yeah. I have to figure out I'm also writing a children's book, pitching the show.
Yeah.
And so I want to find a space where I have some time, but I would like to advocate for, in California, the dog situation at shelters.
Okay.
It's horrendous.
Yeah.
There's so many dogs being euthanized.
Is that it's particularly bad there? You're saying it's political?
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Meaning California doesn't have the laws in place. And then also to protect the dogs. Hundreds of thousands of dogs are being euthanized in California alone.
Oh, really?
Yes, at shelters. And it's puppies. It's perfectly good dogs. Breeding is a large part of that. Breeders are dropping off dogs left and right. But also at the shelters, what I've seen, because I network for dogs. Okay. So if a dog, when I have time, if it speaks to me, then I'll figure out which rescue to align it with and which foster to align it with. Unite those, get everything taken care of, get a transport for the dog, get it to the foster, the whole thing.
Right.
The whole 9 yards. So what I've experienced from this is that in these shelters, the higher ups are oftentimes getting a big salary and not caring. Okay. And so that's what I mean by political.
Got it. Interesting.
Yes. That's from my experience.
Yeah. Well,
but I think my experience is it's aligned with most other people's networkers' experience. Yeah.
So when you think about, I guess, EcoBabe and what you're doing, EcoBabe is what the show is under, or is that's your handle?
It's my umbrella.
Yeah. Is that your production company, or?
I don't have one yet. I need to, though.
Right,
yes, I know. I need to have an LLC production company.
But that's just sort of working.
Yes.
And you got it.
Yes.
So what happens at the show? What's the other vision for? Where do you want to take it? What would you like to see happen?
For Green Jobs, the show that I'm
Green
pitching.
Jobs, but also just sort of your movement in general and the change you want to affect or the projects you want to happen.
Green Jobs, I would like to see sold. It takes a long time in the media space, especially still for sustainability. It's a bit behind in media. I would love to see it go global because, like Akashinga, there's so many incredible organizations doing awesome things abroad. And then I would also love to start a video climate news.
Interesting.
Like MSNBC, Fox, but
like
only climate.
Yeah.
The news itself.
Oh, like an actual show.
Like a channel, like News Plus, right?
Right.
So I can see it in my head. It's like News Plus, and then it's all climate-related news, also the good that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
So, it's climate news across the globe plus the good that's happening in the world. And I could see that as like its own channel, its own station, all of it. Because it really isn't reported on enough.
For sure.
And media has such an opportunity, as you know, to massage culture and bring these things into people's normal dinner conversations.
It's almost like you'd have to. You remember when Weather Channel got huge?
Yes.
When the weather became like
yes.
trendy? It's almost like you need to go to them and
maybe that's
somehow work into that angle. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't even started. I just have
We're trying to sell this one.
Yes. I've just had this visualization for a long time. I'm ready to kind of jump on it. Yeah.
What's the receptivity on the show? I mean, what are you getting feedback as far as the sustainability topic and the audience for? How are people
A
responding
lot
to it?
of networks are like, we love it,
Yeah.
but it's just a hard sell right now.
Right.
Still. Yeah.
Just to get people to watch it, just from an entertainment
I think
standpoint thing.
no, I think it's more about like advertisers
Oh, okay.
probably. The media space is a bit behind in sustainability still,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think they're coming up, but it's just behind.
Right.
So it's still
Right.
not something that they feel sells a lot.
And is this something you could like self do, like just start your own episodes and try?
Maybe,
Maybe. Yeah. It's
maybe I
tough.
don't know.
It's
Yeah,
tough.
I have to figure it out
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. Going back to the Earth for a second.
Yes.
When you think about, you live in the city,
Mm-hmm.
you get caught up in things.
Mm-hmm.
I find I love waterfalls and I love trees. Like
Yes.
I love waterfalls.
Love
When I'm
waterfalls
with a
too. Yeah.
waterfall
Yeah.
or I'm in a tree, I love those things. They ground me, they inspire me. I get
Yes.
reconnected to we're all in this together. But then
Mm-hmm.
I go and live in the city and daily I sort of
Yeah.
feel like I get more and more removed
Mm-hmm.
from that feeling and that connectedness. One, do you experience that? And then what do you do to come back to that place of connection?
It's a really good question. I go inward.
Yeah.
I go inward. And it's a little different from meditation. Like meditation, I think, is sometimes more you're having those thoughts and feelings float away, right? You're getting into a zen, like kind of neutral
Just
space.
quiet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I more contemplate and I
Yeah.
connect with my inner child. So little Monica.
Yeah.
So your inner child rules everything, right?
Somebody I just had an interview with somebody.
You
said the
did?
same. That's so funny. That thing
Oh, I love
came up
it.
again. That is
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah, the inner child
Yeah.
rules everything. So I connect with her.
Yeah.
And if you are not sure how to like really get there, you can either like shut your eyes and concentrate on your heart,
Yeah.
or what I did initially many moons ago, it feels like
Yeah.
now, is there's this photo of me on the farm as a little farm
Right.
girl wearing like Oshkosh Bagosh overalls,
love it.
adorable. Little toe head.
Adorable.
Adorable, yes. And that's my favorite photo from
Yeah.
my childhood. And so that to me is little Monica. So when I shut my eyes, I visualize that photo. And then you can connect to your inner child that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you're someone who likes to see things,
Yeah.
right? So that's how I get into my inner space, basically. And when you're in inner space, it's much like nature, where
Yeah.
it's very grounding. It's very kind of neutral. You can heal a lot in there. I contemplate too, like,
Yeah.
why is this bothering me? How can I be grateful for this? How can I put a filter of trust or hope on this
Yeah.
that is a new perspective? Like, how do I kind of transfigure something? And so it's all done in inner space. And something you can't Google
Yeah.
is okay. So we have 5 to 7, depending on what you senses on the exterior, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you believe, 5 or 7. On the interior, can't Google this. There's 672 senses that you have inside of your body.
Okay.
So that being said, you really know that everything that happens out here in your exterior reality
Yeah.
happens from inside.
From inside. Yeah. Are you
So-
saying even physically or I would say even mentally? I mean, it really
Both.
starts from, yeah.
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 Both. And how does that saying go? Your feelings begat your thoughts.
Yeah.
Your thoughts
Yeah.
begat is it thoughts to feelings? Thoughts
beget
first, feelings,
and then
beliefs,
yeah.
actions, results,
Oh,
right?
nice. Okay.
But all of that starts inside.
Yeah.
So you really, really create your reality, your exterior reality, with everything that's going on inside.
Right. When you go back to little Monica on the farm.
Yes.
Right. I mean, you said it's a visual thing, but you connect with something. So what
Yes.
mindset does that put you in? Like what? It's very interesting because I know exactly what you're talking about. There's times where you're just generally thinking about life and you think about how lighter you were as a kid or more innocent you were. There's
Pure.
pure, right. So something happens in that moment where I guess that's what I'm asking. What happens? What does that replace? What is that? What is there now that you've connected with little Monica? Like it must do something to the heart. It does something to the mind. It must bring
Yeah.
up a certain feeling.
Yeah. I think the feeling is okay. Happiness
Yeah.
is a choice,
Yeah.
right? And for me, staying happy and joyful comes a lot from connecting with little Monica.
Yeah.
The child is so
yeah.
joyous.
Right. Because they have less opinions, less views, more
Filters,
open.
less experience even,
Yeah.
like less
Yeah.
like being in a box.
Right.
I can't stand boxes.
Yeah.
I don't even like birthdays. I think that puts people in a box.
You don't like your birthday? You
No,
don't like
I don't
celebrating
really.
your
No,
birthday?
it's like, if you say like by 42 I need to do this, or
Right.
by 35, or I'm gonna
I
die
used
at
to get
89.
caught up
like,
in that. I don't so much anymore,
Yeah.
but I definitely used to. I like to have my act
Same.
together by this.
Yes,
It's a lie.
but it's like a societal
Yeah.
box that you put yourself in,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, anything that's like boundary or a box, I
Yeah.
try to stay away from.
Right. Well, I think that's
I feel
a
it's
great.
an illusion.
It is, yeah. And I think there's a connection between. I think one of the things that happens when we get caught up in, let's say, city life is complexity.
Yes.
And there's something about nature where just things become simple.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't know all the answers, somehow, even though you still have to do, there's something that just is very grounding and I think gives a certain level of capacity, feeling like you have the capacity to deal with whatever's coming your way.
Yes.
There's a connection between that.
And I mean, you stick your feet in the soil. Soil mimics
Yeah.
your gut biome,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Is that like grounding?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
Earthing or grounding.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, good job.
I got some grounding sheets.
Proud
I
of you.
experimented
Yes,
with
I
them.
love that. Yeah.
Did you see that documentary on grounding?
No.
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah.
I need to, though.
But I'm sure you know it, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming you did.
Yeah.
Do you ground when you're out?
I mean, I don't, not intentionally, other than
Yeah.
I love taking my shoes off and walking on the grass or the sand.
Yeah.
But the idea that you can be standing there and for 15 minutes, pick up on sort of natural vibrations that are happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if you study like mushrooms at all,
Yeah.
it's it's a communicator of everything on Earth. These
Right.
fungi, it's incredible. They have like whole kind of like wire systems
Yeah.
underneath the soil. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then like, the tree rings mimic your fingerprint.
Oh, do they?
It looks the exact same.
When you
A
like slice a
tree ring.
tree? Oh, that's interesting.
Looks like your fingerprints.
That's
And then every
interesting.
tree is non-identical to the next one. Just like our fingerprints are unique,
Wow,
their
wow.
rings are unique. I mean, there's so many different. A tree top, like the branches, looks like our lungs.
Oh, really?
Right? With the different,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, I've seen that.
I mean, there's
yeah. A lot of mimicking.
we're so connected. I think that's what I really would love to promote
Yeah,
is
yeah.
getting humans one step closer to nature.
Yeah.
Because with modern day life, we've really kind of gone so many different directions away from her.
I think
Yeah.
that message, I love that message.
Mm-hmm.
Connected, bringing people together. And I think, it's interesting. There's obviously a lot of problems we want to solve, and everything needs attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I often think we miss the first step by not getting to the point where, hey, we're in this together. In essence, we're all looking for the same thing. Different policies, different ideas, fair enough. We'll figure that out.
Yes.
But we already start so divided, it's difficult. So I think, if we go back to the question of how do you talk to people to try to get change, I find when I'm in that place, connected to nature, feeling unified, I'm much more receptive.
And you're more open.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you're more grounded. You're happier. You have those ions from being outside.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
even if you are in a big building at lunch break, go outside.
Yeah.
Eat your lunch outside for a second.
Yeah.
Open the window and get some fresh air. There's so many different ways to connect, even for a few minutes
Yeah.
a day, that it makes a really big difference in your overall life.
And I think, even go back to your farm experience, my son on Wednesdays has these assemblies.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God, I
everyone-
forgot about assemblies.
Well, you remember assemblies?
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember assemblies.
So we go to the ones where he's participating. You don't have to go, but if he's participating, we go. So they just did one on their STEM class on AI and all these robots.
So cool, yeah.
Right? But what was interesting, and they went through all the sort of different robots that are out there, but the common theme was these will help humans not do the mundane, boring tasks. And I kept hearing that. I was like, it doesn't resonate with me. Something's
Agree.
off. That is where people find life.
Yes.
Washing the dishes, doing this. And we have this idea that somehow I'm going to get rid of all these boring tasks because I'm going to go do something more exciting. And history has never proven that has left us better off. So even getting back to the farm of like taking care of the animals, walking outside,
Yes.
I think all those little things ground us,
Finding joy in the mundane.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually a big slice of alchemy as well.
Oh, is it?
Because when you find the joy,
Yeah.
when you're joyful, you're just automatically grateful, right?
Yes.
So you're like, oh, I'm so happy I get to do this. Like, I get to wash the dishes.
Right.
Thank you that I had the time to wash the dishes. I can wash the dishes. I have water to wash the dishes. Then it like automatically transforms your perspective for the rest of your day.
Yeah.
And it sounds
very
so
good. Yeah.
simple,
Yeah.
but it really makes a difference. And something else I've been doing every morning, I wake up and I'm like, today is my day.
Nice. Right.
Today is my, like, listen, I've been through a lot of shit too in like very dark times.
Right.
But okay, I don't want anyone to think that I'm like, walking in a
But
cloud.
that's probably how you get that because you've come out of those dark times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you turn your pain into gain. But you like, today is my day.
Right.
Start saying it.
Yeah.
Today is my day. It immediately transforms.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it really
great.
works. And it's so simple.
And when so you spoke about alchemy and you keep using this word transform, and now I'm understanding a little bit about what you mean, but tell me more. Tell me what alchemy is and how you got into it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So and thank you for asking. It's like so fun for me to talk about. Alchemy is simply transforming your reality by transforming your perspective.
Okay.
Different perspectives beget power, begets a new reality. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So one of the things that we always do is we stay in ascension attitudes. Ascension attitudes are
Ascension? Is
ascension,
that the word? Okay.
like upwards.
Oh, ascension. Yeah.
Ascension,
okay.
yeah. Is my Michigan accent coming out?
It's a nice word. I don't hear it a lot.
Ascension, yeah. We all want to ascend. So ascension attitudes are hope, love, praise, trust, and joy.
Okay.
So, hope, love, praise, trust, gratitude. Sorry. And so when something happens, whether it's big or small, right? If you can put kind of that lens of one of these ascension attitudes on it, and this may not happen for a few days, a few months, but when you can finally put an ascension attitude lens or a filter over that, whatever happened, it immediately transforms. You take like what is traumatic at your table and you flip it to be your wine and bread.
Right. Nice.
Right.
Nice. Yeah.
So that a lot of that comes from ascension attitudes and like really digging into whatever happened.
Well, how do
seeing
you
how
do
you-
that? So I was going to ask, how do
Inner
you
space.
practice that?
Inner space.
Okay.
I go in, I contemplate it.
Yeah.
Like you're connecting with little Monica. You can just shut your eyes and just be quiet. I like my silencing headphones. I'm like, I get very distracted.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I can't work in a coffee shop, unfortunately. So I like my silencing headphones. So you just go inward and you try to put that lens on it and then work with it.
Right.
You have to, the more traumatic it is, the more you have to work with it.
Yeah, you got to cut that. I mean, I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about, but what I like about what you're saying is so often somebody could say, well, just make it happen. You're
Right.
like, it never worked. You have to come to some understanding about the thing. And so the fact that it has this aspect of contemplating or considering what Socrates would call, he would say the unexamined life is not worth living.
Yes.
Right. Which is exactly, it's some self-examination
Exactly.
of, and just as you said, also, the thoughts that I carry in my mind have a direct impact.
Yeah. And something that I've been thinking about manifestation lately is like, are people limiting themselves by manifesting? Because what if you're like, I would like to make $1 million by, but what if you could have made more than $1 million and
Well,
you
not
only
even that.
manifested?
I would even say, I would even question that being the ultimate goal. Like,
Right.
um,
But what if it was like a short-term manifestation? Shorter.
it may be, but my question would be, if I was talking to the person,
Yeah.
if you were to really contemplate it and look behind it,
hmm
I think you find most people will get caught up in that loop. After that, that's the next thing.
hmm
Whereas what you said about going inward,
hmm
however one begins to do that, is really where you get off that wheel. Now go. I mean, so I've been practicing meditation for a long time, going to the School of Practical Philosophy for many, many years. So I love these conversations and that kind of self-examination and getting back to that inner space so important to me. I find when I do that, I still would like the business to go well. I'd still like to achieve, but I'm not as defined by it.
That's the thing, is the definition.
Yes.
Which is also my point of manifestation. Like when
Yeah.
you define something, sometimes things are never going to be defined.
Right.
And you have to be okay with it, because that's where the magic happens, and the unknown.
Yeah.
There's so many things in my life that I don't know why it happened still.
Right.
And it could be maddening, but you're like, maybe I'm not supposed to know.
You mean
I
why
might
a
know later.
situation's happening, why you're thinking
Yes.
something. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And even defining like, oh my God, am I in my head too much? Am I even defining like I'm a middle child, so I do that? Like all of these definements are really a limit to yourself.
I agree. I think it's a story. I think there's a point where you tell yourself this story,
Which are very believable, by the way.
which are very believable.
Yes,
And so
yes.
it's very interesting. And I want to ask you sort of how you got into the alchemy, or even where that impulse came on, because it sounded like you sort of had this even earlier on. But to get introduced to something that says maybe that story is not 100% true, and maybe it doesn't matter at all. Like maybe
Exactly.
it doesn't, like it has nothing to do with your joy.
Exactly.
That's the missing piece, right?
That's the missing piece.
Yeah.
And we call them ghost stories.
Okay. Yes.
So
nice.
if you let these ghost stories, if you're always operating from that ghost story,
Yeah.
you're bringing that ghost story into your present, and you will always be limited by
Yeah,
that ghost
great.
story.
Yeah.
No matter what the ghost story is,
Yeah.
you're creating your current reality with the limit of that ghost story. So the more you can get into inner space, the more that you can figure out that ghost story and be like, and sometimes you don't have to define the ghost story. Sometimes you're in inner space, and if you just think about it and be like, why does that bother me? Or you'll feel it melt away.
Yes,
Like
I
a
agree.
mist before the sun, right?
agree,
So
yeah.
sometimes you don't even have to, it's not like this 3-day meditative experience. It
Right.
can be 15 minutes. And once you start thinking about it, you just feel it melt away and your shoulders relax. And does that make sense?
It does, and I
Yeah.
think even taking it further, after you've sort of got a little insight into it, you'll probably see that pattern again. So if I'm getting stressed at work because I'm anxious about it not going well, it probably has to do with something around me in the story. And so I think you're right. It can get past the place where I don't need to know the details, but I see that thinking pattern, and if I see it, sort of just putting it under the light, it goes away.
Yes.
Right? And so I don't need to know, I don't need to go into deep, deep therapy about it, but I need to gain some insight into, if you go back to the little Monica, what is pulling you away from that? Which is really
Right.
what's pulling you away from your true self in a way,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your true expression.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the more that we stay in these stories, the more that we experience like anxiety or
Yeah.
fear, guilt, shame, sadness, all of those feelings. And those feelings, so if my right hand is life and my left hand is like you and your
Yeah.
feelings, the more that we experience these feelings, the more it builds a contraction away from
Yeah.
life. And then in that gap, that's where like death,
Interesting.
decay, sickness, disease, it creeps in because it has a space,
Right.
right? So the
So
more that
what
we're
causes
like
that separation?
distorted emotions,
Got it.
like
Okay.
fear, anxiety, all
Anger,
of that,
all
all
that.
of that. Yeah.
Um,
So it's really important to
Yeah.
heal, like embrace those emotions, let it run through you, go into inner space, think about them, and let them heal,
Yeah.
because you will get back to your connection with life.
Yeah. No, it's great. I also I've had that point where I sort of don't want to have those feelings because I think they don't represent me being wise or me being present or me, this kind of thing. An image you have about what it means to, what I think we're talking about is living consciously.
Yes. Absolutely.
And so there's a point of understanding where those feelings come in, you're like, oh, those are sort of counterintuitive, but they're not if you just accept them for sort of the play and you watch them and you handle them. When you try to push them away, you're right. It's sort of denying what's happening.
Yeah.
But then I think you get clarity on them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
maybe you don't stay as angry as long, or you catch it earlier. So that idea that's causing you the frustration doesn't take over as quickly. Yeah, that's excellent.
You know what a really good tip is for anxiety too?
Yeah.
I learned this when my ghost story is that I was diagnosed with anxiety many moons
Okay.
ago. So I went to a holistic doctor for
Yeah.
anxiety, and it's so simple. This plant reminds me of it. She said when you're about to experience anxiety, whether it's like a full-blown panic attack
Yeah.
or just a bout of anxiety, look at something that brings you joy and connects you with nature.
Yeah.
The nature is like our thing, right? So for me, I would look at my dog, pet my dog, my cat,
Right.
look at a plant you can even do, and just start breathing.
That's
It's a really
great.
good tip to I guess utilize nature to
I think
better
that's
your
great.
yeah.
Yeah. I have that
It's a little
sometimes
tip.
when, no, it's, I mean, I had that on the subway the other day. When I come I live outside the city now. When I come into the
I
city,
can 100%.
I'm always in this neighborhood. I come and but I went uptown the other day to see some friends, took the subway.
Yeah.
And I remember just taking a moment to be on the subway. Wasn't on my phone. I didn't have earpods in. Of just like taking it all in,
Mhm.
and even that, just connecting you. I guess we're talking about being present is really what we're talking
Totally.
about.
Yeah.
But it's
Yep.
nice when you can look at something natural as opposed to the concrete, right?
Right.
But even so, if you can be present with it
Mhm.
in that space we're talking about, yeah, it brings you back. It
Mhm.
brings you back.
Yeah.
And nature has a beautiful way of doing that, obviously.
Did you get anxiety in the subway? Is that what?
No,
Okay.
it's part of like you. I mean, the practice I've done for so long in my life is, if I find myself not present, or even whenever I remember, just to be here with
Distraction.
myself.
Right.
I mean, that's really the work, to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I find what I'm sensitive more and more is the phone is a distraction. Even, it's not a praise or blame thing. It's just noticing, am I living in a dream or not?
Mm-hmm.
And so just the opportunity to sort of connect and listen and get to that place where I don't know these people, but the truth is we're united on some level.
Totally. Yep.
Feels good.
Yep.
And it's, to your point, it helps you not define. Like anything is sort of possible in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So,
the collective.
Yeah.
The collective
but it
subway
takes, but like to your point, I think people often miss, it does take conscious effort to sit down and do your contemplation, to take the moment, So that's excellent. I mean, listen, I love this stuff. I'll talk about it
Same.
all day.
Staying distracted is a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
But I think
You
you
miss
hit a
out.
wall eventually where you're like, I'm missing something.
Yeah, you miss out.
Yeah.
You really miss out when you're constantly distracted.
Yeah. And so I think it's great with your work on nature. I mean, it's, again, when I find that with the cafe. I love hospitality. I'm not really a big foodie.
Oh, really?
I don't really eat a lot during the day, and
Yeah.
I don't really care where we go to eat as long as I'm with good people. Like
right.
it doesn't.
It's more about the.
I don't like
the
bad
energy.
food, but I'm
right.
not. It's just not my. Not
Well,
my
it's a good thing you're in
passion.
New York because you'll get good food everywhere.
Everywhere,
Yeah.
exactly. But I love hospitality,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing I'm really enjoying now is, like you, they both require a lot of, everything requires conscious act, but bringing people together, seeing their reaction, keeping an open heart. I like that my sort of personal beliefs align with
Yes.
the job, and I feel that with you as well.
Yes.
Yeah, which is great.
Absolutely.
Rare place to be.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And you guys do a good job of hospitality,
Thank
by
you.
the
I
way.
appreciate it.
Beautiful job. Yeah.
Where'd you first learn about the alchemy?
Gosh, how did that happen? I feel like I've lived so many lifetimes. When I was getting a divorce, I did talk
Yeah.
therapy, right? And then I did that for a few years, and then I felt like I had gotten what I kind of needed. Like I
Yeah.
kind of graduated out of it, thank goodness.
Right.
And then I had a friend of a friend who is a shaman. She
Yeah.
lives in Carmel, and her
Yeah.
name is Stephanie Besman. And I had some things happen. I kind of started working with her a little bit, and then my cat died, and I was like, I need you. Like I had Luna
Right.
for 16 years. Like I need you right now.
Yeah.
So I started working with her really closely, and she got me through
Nice.
that journey. Yeah. And then we started working together more often. We became really close. We're launching a podcast
How are you?
end of
Oh,
spring
that's great. With
about
the shaman.
alchemy. Mm-hmm. It's
Oh,
about
nice.
alchemy.
The shaman
Yes.
practices alchemy?
Yes, she's
okay,
a high
got it.
alchemist.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to just say shaman because I think people understand it a bit more.
But does it have the shamanistic roots? Does it have, okay, so that's where, is that, and I'm probably if I'm not being, is that
No.
Native American? Is that where does that come from?
Yeah, mostly.
South
it would be like
America? What's the-
shamanism is very indigenous.
Yeah.
She's from Bogota,
Okay.
Colombia.
Yeah, okay.
But I think what I would say about shamanism is like a high intuition.
Yeah.
Does that make
It
sense?
does. I did a little Tai Chi for a while, and this
Okay.
gentleman I really enjoyed. I think he was a shaman. I mean, that's what he said he was.
Probably,
I mean,
yeah.
that's, but not what somebody would think if you picture that image, but
Right.
it's a spiritual path, but very nature oriented,
Mm-hmm.
connected, very intuitive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And actually, now that you say that, a very close friend of the family is a shaman up in Woodstock. That's funny. I
Oh,
didn't-
amazing. Woodstock is
Yeah.
a great place to be
Yeah,
a shaman.
absolutely.
It's
So
really
they
just
introduced
beautiful.
you to that.
Yes.
And what's
yeah.
the podcast?
It's called Passepartout.
Nice.
Yes. So it is your master key to the door to everything.
And have you started that yet?
We're filming in a month.
I love it.
Yes.
And that's
yes, thank you.
conversations with who, or what's the
With Steph. It's only her and I.
Okay.
And so my hosting comes into play.
Yeah, beautiful.
Because I get to, and I understand it at a pretty deep level. So it's great to interview her because I come at it from a place of being able to translate
Yeah.
and also of understanding. So each episode will focus on one theme, like what is alchemy,
Yeah.
how to deal with tyrants, things like that. Tyrants are really up right now, by the way.
Yeah, that's
They're
the new
wild.
word?
Yes, the tyrants. Yes, yeah.
I haven't heard that. I've heard narcissism a lot.
That could
like
be a
that is
tyrant.
like the
Oh my
it
God.
word.
Yes,
I haven't
it's
heard
been for
tyrant
years,
used
right?
a lot
Yeah,
yet. So
yeah.
what is that? That's just, how do you define that?
A tyrant is like something. I mean, there's 4 different types of tyrants, but it can be like a petulant child
Okay.
character type
Okay.
to like a psychopath.
Got it. Got it. It's a big
It's
range.
a broad
big range.
spectrum. Yes.
Okay. But I
Yeah.
guess it's like founded on some extreme emotion, one way or another.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you deal with tyrants, right?
I'm sure I've been a tyrant.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
we all are at a
absolutely.
certain
I'm
point.
sure we are
Yeah.
exactly, and then we heal it, and
Exactly. Well, that's great. I'm excited for you. That'll be
Thank you.
excellent.
Thank
Another,
you.
Another thing that aligns with something you love and makes
Yes.
things a little easier.
yes,
That's great.
yeah.
This has been so much fun. I mean, I
Thank
could
you.
talk much longer.
I
There's
know.
a lot we could
I
cover.
know. Same.
But I really appreciate it. Really insightful. Really, it's nice when you can have the conversation. It brings it to top of mind, and you feel like you can bring it into your day a little bit.
Yeah, and it's great because we're able to connect sustainability with Earth. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same, and with alchemy, and it's all connected.
Yeah.
You know, the way you treat yourself is the way you're going to treat the Earth. The way you treat the Earth is the way you're going to treat yourself. It's
Yeah.
all so connected.
I think it's a
So I
huge
appreciate
point.
it.
I think it's a great, in a way, summary, which is the thing I heard you saying. The closer you are to here, I think everything falls naturally into proportion.
Mm-hmm.
You look out and there's more love, there's more caring, decisions are priorities are clearer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. I think it starts with bringing that divide closer.
Bridging
Yeah,
the gap.
Absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, this was amazing.
Thank you
That's
for
so much
having
fun.
me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't wait to stay in touch and hear how things
Yes,
are going.
same. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yay! Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
good.
Really good conversation. You had fun?
I could
Good.
still talk.
I know.